to The Perspective. I'm your host, Amin Robinson. Now, the Fox Business Network announced the lineup for next week's GOP debate on November 10th at 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. I'm going to let you look at the clip, and then afterwards, I'm going to come back with my analysis. Check out the clip.
So now the lineup for next week's Republican presidential debate is set. 8 candidates will square off in prime time Tuesday night only on the Fox Business Network. Ben Carson, Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, Jeb Bush, Carly Fiorina, John Kasich, and Rand Paul. They made it. 4 others will debate 2 hours earlier in the first debate, including Mike Huckabee and Chris Christie, both of whom for the first time will not be on the primetime debate stage. Before the lineup was announced, Governor Christie said he did not care where he wound up as long as he had a microphone somewhere.
Chris Wallace is with us from that Fox News Sunday. What do you make of this, especially this Carson business?
Well, look, there are 2 parts to the Carson story. One is his personal story when he was 14 years old, and the question as to whether he tried to stab a friend or not. We're never going to know the truth of that, and you know, so to a certain degree, that's going to be a wash. For a potential commander-in-chief, I think much more troubling, much more damaging, and also much more provable, true or false, is the story that he was offered a full scholarship to West Point. This comes out of a book that he wrote, an autobiography called Gifted Hands, in which he tells a very detailed story about Memorial Day 1969. He is the head of the ROTC program in Detroit. He says that he had dinner with General William Westmoreland, who had recently stepped down as the commander of all U.S. forces at West Point. He makes it sound like it was a dinner with him, Westmoreland, and some Congressional Medal of Honor winners, and then he was offered a scholarship to West Point. Westmoreland wasn't even in Detroit that day. He was playing tennis in Washington. There was another event in February of that year, but it was a 1,500-person banquet. There's no record that Carson ever met with Westmoreland. If he did, it seems like it would have been one of 1,000 people to meet Westmoreland. And as has been pointed out, West Point has no record not only of him ever getting a scholarship, and everybody who goes to West Point gets a scholarship. It's a full ride from the government, but that he ever even applied for one. And that's pretty serious, the idea that you would claim that you got accepted and by West Point and that you never actually even applied to go there.
West Point has never given a full ride scholarship. None of the military academies has ever given a full ride scholarship. You pay for your schooling with service, typically 5 years of service in whatever branch of the military, the academy to which you go. That's how this works. In fact, someone told me today who went to one of those academies was like, I'm always embarrassed for people when they say they got a full scholarship to fill in the blank academy, because it means they don't have any idea what they're talking about. That's from somebody who went to one of these schools. I just wonder if this sort of thing is going to resonate. I mean, his line is, blame the media. They're here to distract. The media are terrible. That's what they always say when they don't have substance. They attack the messenger. It's not a new trick.
Well, and here's why it is potentially particularly damaging to Ben Carson, because basically what he's got and what he's running for president on is his story, his life. And it's an extraordinary life because, say what you will, he grew up in abject poverty. His mom was illiterate. He ended up going to the best colleges and becoming a world-famous neurosurgeon, pediatric neurosurgeon. All of that is true, but he never served in any government role. He doesn't have a public record to run on, and so he's running on his life story. If a major part of that life story, the idea that he was, offered, forget what you want to call it, but, that he basically was admitted to West Point, and in fact he never even applied to West Point, that raises questions about his personal credibility.
Bigger picture. All of this shooting inside the tent that the Republicans are doing, it's not new today, but they just keep firing at each other over and over. Ronald Reagan must be rolling over somewhere.
I'm going to give you my analysis on what these candidates should do in order to keep their poll numbers up and to gain trust with the audience. Donald Trump. Donald Trump needs to be more specific at this debate. He cannot afford to give any vague answers. He needs to be thorough and detailed. Ben Carson. Ben Carson is currently being scrutinized by the media about his claims of being a violent youth and about the claims about the West Point scholarship. Ben Carson can use this debate as a platform to defend himself and to gain trust with the audience. Marco Rubio is currently being scrutinized by the media about his fiscal responsibility. Marco Rubio can use this debate as a platform to defend himself and to gain trust with the audience. Ted Cruz did a great job at the second GOP debate. If Ted Cruz could be more specific about his fiscal policies and about his business policies, and also prove to the American people that he's well versed in business and economics, he'll do well at this debate. Carly Fiorina, this is her strengths, business and economics. If Carly Fiorina could be more aggressive, the way she was in the first debate, at this third GOP debate, she'll do well. Jeb Bush cannot afford to do a poor job at this debate. The Iowa caucuses are in February. In my opinion, if Jeb Bush does not do well at this debate, it's finished for him. John Kasich did very good at the second GOP debate. If he could pull off a similar performance at this debate, he'll move forward. Rand Paul needs to be more aggressive. He needs to prove to the American people that he is well versed in business and economics and that he could do a good job for the American people. As for the other four who didn't make the cut, Chris Christie, Mike Huckabee, Rick Santorum, and Bobby Jindal, if all four of them could prove to the American people that they're well versed in business and economics, can boost our GDP, can stimulate our economy in an efficient and effective manner, they should do well. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think and subscribe.